Listen, if you want to be jacked and mobile, jacked and flexible, the best exercise, especially for your hips and everything, is literally hip abductors. That is the best for you to do, to loosen your hips, because even if you're big at the top, strong at the top, bodybuilder or not, like a pro bodybuilder or not, or if you even look like a bodybuilder, at the end of the day, bodybuilders are too stiff at the top. And being stiff at the bottom doesn't mean you have to be the biggest, because you could be a regular sized person, but your hips are tight because you don't get enough exercise. You stay in bed all day, or you don't stretch properly, especially before legs. This is something with even people who work out with legs. If you don't stretch properly, you're bound to pull something. Same with the upper. You have to stretch all of your muscle groups in every single way possible. That's obviously to your, natural capabilities and flexibility, but just enough to where you get a deep stretch, you can feel it, you can feel the contraction, you feel the muscles prepared, warmed up, and whatnot. Not just going there all tight and stiff, and then you start lifting weights and lifting heavy weights at that, and then you pull or tear something. Forget the incorrect form. You just didn't warm up right. Like, come on now, you can't just self-sabotage yourself now, before or after making some progress. Now you're sidelined for a while because you was acting goofy. That's not what we're here to do. So hip abductors is one of those exercises where, a lot of people think, I already know this is gonna, matter of fact, this ain't gonna trigger too many people. It shouldn't, but they may think it's too feminine because you're a guy and you're spreading your legs open. It's not about sex, okay? It's not about being sus. It's actually like, yeah, it's all fun and games until your hips hurt and you actually, now it's like, dang, now I gotta really stretch my legs open and close, to the point where you have to feel the contraction. Okay, because I already know people love taking things out of context and out of proportion. Why? Because it's interesting. Sometimes it gets the clicks and the views. That's why. But nonetheless, hip abductors is very underrated. I feel like it's severely underrated, even for women who do it. Because it's not the most talked about. It's not any iconic lift. It's nothing fancy. It's just like, hey, if I'm struggling and my body is hurting and everything is tight, or if there feel like there's knots, or it just feels like, everything is just not going well, especially in the lower body, that's the main go-to. Because you're not gonna, in your right mind, think, yeah, I'm gonna go do squats and potentially crack my kneecaps, bust my kneecaps, break that down, It's just one of those things where you have to, especially as an athlete, hip abductors is one of those stretching movements to where you can explode out, especially if you're a football player, basketball player, you're, taking off the line of scrimmage or running up and down the basketball court. I guarantee you, those sports, hip abductors will save you, especially when you have tight hips. Because you're constantly moving your hips. In basketball, when you're in your basketball stance, guess what? Damn near shoulder width apart, hands out everywhere, trying to shuffle side to side to mirror the opponent without, getting your ankles taken from you, or getting crossed up. So it's like, that's a lot of hip, mobility and flexibility that you need. And if you don't, it's gonna hurt being in your stance. If you're a wrestler, it's gonna hurt being in your stance, especially if you do folk style, freestyle, whatnot, traditional wrestling. If you don't know what that is, look it up. You look up college wrestling, look at their stance. I bet you they be hitting them hip abductors at times, if they need to in their off time, because I know they don't hit them usually at practice, but in their downtime, if they need to, they'll hit them, because guess what? They're gonna be in their stance almost all the time. And that's more than in basketball. Basketball, you only do that for defense. Wrestling, you do that for offense and defense when it's on the feet. And then trying to constantly move to counter and this, that, and the third is like, same for football, offense or defense. You start in your stance, no matter what the stance is. It involves a lot of hip flexibility and mobility, and if you don't have that, you're cooked, you're screwed. So it's all, like I said, and in those sports, those guys are jacked most of the time. They're in really good shape, or toned out, defined, muscular, everything. But they still need to have that flexibility and mobility, or else that muscle means nothing. Skill, it's still skill for skill, right? But at the end of the day, why not have both? Because they're both equally important for said position, for said sport. Whether you do sports or not, just in general, you should want to live a comfortable life knowing hey, I'm good. I can help myself. I can walk. I can get enough exercise. I can feel good about my life. Okay? But that's the end of this video. Nothing really too crazy, but just kind of shining a light on something that's very important. I feel like that's not even talked about a lot. I feel like it can really help a lot of people, especially who especially if you're older. You know, your body starts to break down when you're older, and you know, if you want to keep yourself in the best shape, that's the way to go. Okay, if this resonated with you, make sure you save it, rewatch it again if you need to for future workouts. You can always look at my older videos, you know, whether it be at-home workouts or even some gym workouts. Let me know down below what other videos you may want to see. Share this video with someone who really needs to hear this, who's overall just lazy or, you know, feels iffy about hip abductors or think only women should do it, which is just very feminine to even say that in general. But that's it. Until next time, I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Peace.